Alright you guys, so I have been on the fence on whether I wanted to do another video covering R. Kelly and the abuse and the trauma and the wickedness that he has put so many women through. Until today, I hadn't even watched the Surviving R. Kelly documentary because I didn't want to get caught up in my feelings as I watched each of the women tell their story of how they were sexually, physically, and mentally abused by R. Kelly. But I did want to cover a topic that one of my subscribers mentioned to me a few weeks ago about R. Kelly and the real reason he has those women pee in cups and buckets and other containers that allow him to save the pee. One of my subscribers, Miss Shaw Gem Dropper, dropped a gem on me not long ago when she let me know that one of the girls that used to live with R. Kelly exposed the real reason he collects their pee in a tell-all book. That book is called Daddy's Little Freak, and you have to buy it directly from the author's website because it's banned from Amazon. I got a copy of the book and I was able to read it from end to end, and it is something serious. Y'all have to read this book because she goes into graphic detail about what R. Kelly likes sexually, including the pee. And I can't get into all of his sexual deviances here, so we're just going to talk about the pee in particular. The author of this book lived with R. Kelly's off and on abuse for about 5 years. And at a certain point, the girl had actually gotten away from R. Kelly and moved back in with her grandmother. She had been gone for a few months when she realized she was pregnant with R. Kelly's baby. And before she even decided what she was going to do with the baby, R. Kelly actually had the nerve to come to her grandmother's house looking for her. He didn't know she was pregnant at the time, and it's a shame how this all played out. Here's what she said in the book, and this all ties into the pee, so stay with me. In the chapter called When a Woman's Fed Up, she says, "Upon our return, things were great, or so I thought, until about 3 hours into our evening. Everything was fine, and then it's like he just snapped. He turned to me and started yelling. He grabbed me, choked me, slapped me, and beat me until I blacked out. To this day, all I remember is him calling me a stupid bee and screaming about me leaving him. It was like a child having a violent tantrum, and I just remember crying, thinking, I thought we were good. I thought everything was fine. I woke up in shock. I don't know how long I had been out for, but it felt like it had just happened. I was in so much pain. My stomach was killing me. I went to rub it for comfort, and I realized I was tied to the bed. I tried everything to get loose, but the cuffs were digging in my skin. They were so tight. I was there for hours. It was the most degrading experience of my life. Here I was in all this pain, bleeding, and pretty sure I was miscarrying right in this bed. I held my bladder so long I eventually just peed on myself. I was starving and nauseated at the same time. I was able to turn over slightly to keep from choking on my vomit, and my mouth was so dry, he didn't even leave me water, Jesus. I just remember thinking this was it and I was going to die right there in that bed, and I almost did. Dr. Smith told me when he was called I had been tied for 3 days, was covered in blood, piss, and vomit, and unconscious. He told me they said Rob freaked out and called him from a McDonald's. Can you believe that? This ninja flipped out after finding what possibly could have been my dead body and went to grab a double cheeseburger. Dr. Smith said he knew immediately I had miscarried, and Rob was of course shocked because he didn't know there was a baby. But nevertheless, Dr. Smith said he let him know I had to get to a hospital ASAP if I was going to survive. Do you know they told me he kept saying no, afraid of what I would say when I woke up? But this was the man I love, ladies and gentlemen, the selfish effing bastard. Thankfully, Dr. Smith already had an ambulance on the way, ignored Rob, and rushed me to the ER anyway. I owe him my life, truly. Upon regaining consciousness, I recall waking up to this ugly, older black chick. She really had a distinctive face. When she began to speak, her Jamaican accent was strong. She told me not to say a word, and Rob wanted to talk to me as soon as I woke up. She claimed to be my new caretaker hired by Rob. Now y'all pay attention to this lady. Anyway, she said she claimed to be my new caretaker hired by Rob. The hell she wasn't. Before I could verbalize that, Dr. Smith walked in and greeted me. He was very nice. He asked her to leave the room so he could discuss some private things with me about my condition. The bee acted like she didn't want to move, said Rob said she needed to know everything. He urged her several times before she got the picture. That's when he shared with me everything that had happened and told me that I had to get away from Rob. I was speechless. I mean, what could I say? He was right. He told me he had 2 daughters my age and he'd kill a man dead for doing what Daddy was doing to me. I just laid there quiet. Was herpes not enough? You know he knew he had that, right? Do you know how many girls I've witnessed have that exact same moment with him? That's what the doctor said to her. And she said, I just laid there crying and told him I loved him. It was at that moment I realized just how effed up I was, just how effed up all of this was. This man had in fact just beat our baby out of me, been drugging me, having me recruit other girls to sleep with, allowed another man to sleep with me, had a house full of brainwashed girlfriends, and here I was refusing help because I loved him. Wow. I look back now and wonder how I got so lost. How did I ever lose myself in this man to that extent? Dr. Smith gave me his personal number. He told me to memorize it and to use it. He told me he'd come get me himself. That made me feel better, at least knowing I had someone I could call. In the midst of the emotions, the hired help returned with Daddy on the phone. He wanted to talk to me. I put the phone to my ear and sat there silent. He began to cry. He apologized. He said he loved me 1,000,000 times and how he was going to kill himself if I would have been dead because he wouldn't have been able to live with himself. I just sat there shaking my head. He was sick. He was really effing sick or severely full of. Started saying he was going to make up about me when they let me come home. You coming home to Daddy, right, baby? I should have said no. I should have went to the police right then and there, but instead, I thought about my grandmother, my cousin, and all the people he threatened to have killed if I ever left him for real. I had to be smart about things. Then I thought about Ray. Always ease yourself out of the lion's mouth. So I told him yes, but something in me died that day. I didn't feel the same. I wasn't the same. He had slowly taken bits and pieces of me, but he'd left me hollow this time. I could barely walk upon our return, and Rob was still nowhere to be found. We'll call this older caretaker lady Stank Winch. Every damn day she was there. I don't like this bee man. When Dr. Smith would come check on me, it was everything. I had grown fond of him, especially since he displayed genuine concern. Everything about Stank Winch gave me chills. It was like pure evil. It felt like she walked around with a dark cloud over her, and I don't want y'all to think I was just being difficult. Trust me, I wasn't. It was just something that wasn't right. When she served me food, I refused to eat it. I kept playing Ray's voice over and over in my head. It was one thing not to trust Rob with my food, but I really didn't trust this bee, so I only ate what Dr. Smith brought for me. A few weeks flew by, and then your favorite artist, finally decided to show his effing face. I remember being in bed and hearing his voice in the hall. He was asking how I was and where I was because he wanted to see me. When I heard footsteps, I quickly closed my eyes and played sleep. I felt him sit down on the bed beside me and rub my face. He leaned in and kissed my forehead and said he was sorry and that he loved me. His voice cracked when he said it as if he was going to cry or something. He said he never meant to hurt me and he loved me more than anything. He just couldn't understand why he was so effed up. He said he knew I didn't love him anymore, but he'd never stop loving me, and he pleaded with God to make me still love him again and give him another chance. I wish I could have played sleep longer, but I coughed and moved around. My eyes opened as a reflex, and there he was smiling at me. I stared for a few and then faintly responded, "Hey, Daddy." He gave me this grand speech about love and how he knows God sent him his wife and me because we'd been through too much and I was still by his side through all of this. I just remember looking at him, y'all, but seeing the devil in rare form with his horns out. I laid there quietly until I eventually dozed off from my meds. I remember waking up and it being after dark. The digital clock on the dresser read 2:38. I'll never forget it. Then I remember trying to get out of the bed myself to go to the restroom. As I lit my way down the hall, I saw one of the doors crack. It looked like candles were lit and I heard voices. When I peeked in, I saw Daddy and Stank Winch. There were candles lit and I swear it looked like they were having an effing seance or something. I heard her ask him something about my essence. He wanted to know how he could make me stay. She asked if he had been making me pee in the cup like she asked. I could have effing passed out. I remember thinking that what the F is this, some voodoo mess? And it was. Who knew the whole time Robert had been collecting bodily fluids from me to give to this crazy lady? Felt like a Lifetime movie. But it wasn't a movie, y'all. This is not a movie. This is what really happened. So it turns out the lady he had hired as a house mother to watch her was a voodoo priestess, and she had R. Kelly collecting the pee of the women in the house to perform spells on them. That's the real reason we keep hearing stories of people finding containers of pee in locations that R. Kelly has rented. He is using the pee in voodoo spells to try to control the women in his house. The same R. Kelly who has collaborated with gospel artists like Kirk Franklin and Marvin Sapp has a flip side, a dark, sinister side, and this woman revealed that he actively practices voodoo. So now y'all know. You can't act like you never heard it before. Now y'all know. And I know that might be hard for some of y'all to wrap y'all head around. And in general, I notice a lot of people have a hard time believing that someone in a position of influence would do something so weird or so crazy. But just because you can't believe it doesn't mean it's not true. The truth doesn't need any believers. The truth is the truth whether you believe it or not. And personally, I believe this woman is telling the truth about what she saw that night at his house. The Bible says, turn away from people that have, quote, a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. It says, from such turn away, for of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts. That is exactly what has happened with R. Kelly and his music. He has pretended for years to have a form of godliness and even made quote-unquote gospel music, but he has literally and figuratively lived out this Bible verse. He has pretended to have a form of godliness by presenting himself as being saved and being a Christian, but he obviously doesn't believe in the power of God if he's turned to voodoo. Let me tell y'all, nothing is that serious. And I hope y'all listening. Nothing is that serious to where you need to consult a voodoo doctor or a voodoo priestess to get it. It's not that serious. Someone had mentioned in my comments the other day on a totally different video how the devil blesses people too. And I actually hear people saying that they're open to that they're open to consulting witch doctors and basically saying that they're open to the dark side to get what they want. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. This is why we have to stay prayed up, y'all. People with power and influence are doing so much behind closed doors and sometimes right in our face. And as consumers of music and products and whatever, we have to continuously go to God in prayer about everything. Everything. Attention YouTubers, you've asked and I'm delivering. I'm sharing with you step by step my secrets to making money on YouTube. And my free guide, How to Make Money on YouTube, is the first step to learning exactly what to do to make money on YouTube. So go to my new website, howtomakemoneyonyt.com, to download your copy today. The link is here on the screen, it's in the description box, and it's in the comments, so you can't miss it.